It was late evening at the memorial grounds, the golden sunset casting long shadows over the rows of marble headstones. The tomb of the unknown soldier stood silent, guarded as always by a man who moved with discipline, precision, and unshakable calm. To him, this was not just a duty, it was sacred. Every step, every turn, every second of his watch was a vow of respect to those who had given everything for their country. But not everyone shared that reverence. That evening, a group of 5 college-aged boys wandered into the memorial, loud, laughing, and careless. They weren't there to honor the fallen, they were there to show off, to prove something to each other. To them, the guard in his pristine uniform was just another man standing still, easy prey for mockery. The leader of the group smirked and said, "Watch this. He won't even move. They're trained to ignore us." His friends laughed, egging him on, daring him to push further. They strutted up toward the tomb, their voices breaking the solemn silence of the place. The guard remained still at first, his rifle angled perfectly at his side, his eyes forward. But when the bullies crossed the barrier, when their jeers grew louder and their disrespect more obvious, something inside him shifted. With one powerful stomp of his boot that echoed across the marble, he broke the silence. His command voice rang out, sharp and undeniable. "Halt! You are disrespecting the tomb. Step back immediately." The bullies froze, startled. They hadn't expected him to speak, much less with that force. But instead of backing down, one of them laughed nervously and said, "Relax, man, it's just a joke." Another tried to shove the guard lightly, testing him. That was their mistake. In an instant, the guard moved. What the boys thought was a statue came alive with the precision of a soldier and the speed of a fighter. The first bully who tried to push him found himself face down on the ground before he knew what happened. The second swung clumsily, but within a blink, the guard had sidestepped, using his own momentum to send him sprawling across the stone floor. The others charged together, thinking numbers would save them. They were wrong. The guard's training wasn't just ceremonial, it was combat-tested. Every move was efficient, controlled, and devastating. One by one, he disarmed them of their arrogance, using nothing but his discipline and skill. In less than 60 seconds, all 5 were on the ground, groaning, humiliated, and utterly defeated. Silence returned to the memorial, except for their heavy breathing. The guard stood tall once more, his uniform still perfect, his eyes stern but calm. He didn't gloat, didn't curse, didn't boast. He simply said, "This place is not for your games. Every step I take, every second I stand here, is for those who can no longer stand. Show them respect. Or leave." The boys, shaken and ashamed, scrambled to their feet. None of them had a witty comeback now. They left in silence. The air was heavy with silence at Arlington's tomb of the unknown soldier. The sound of boots striking marble echoed with perfect rhythm, every step precise, every movement intentional. For the guard on duty, this was not just a ritual, it was a promise, a vow carved into his soul. The sacred post demanded perfection, even under heat, cold, rain, or storm. It demanded discipline that no mockery, no distraction, and no threat could break. But that evening, the silence was pierced by laughter. Not the kind that came from joy, but the kind that dripped with arrogance. 5 young men, college students by their look, stumbled into the solemn grounds. They weren't drunk, but they were intoxicated by pride, by the false courage that comes from having an audience of friends. The leader strutted forward, his voice loud enough to bounce off the memorial walls. "Look at this guy," he jeered, pointing at the guard. "Marching like a robot. What's he even guarding? Nobody's even alive here." His friends burst out laughing, their voices jarring against the sacred silence. An elderly couple watching nearby shook their heads in dismay, but no one dared step in. The bullies pushed further. They mimicked the guard's steps, mocking his precision. One even pretended to march beside him, flailing his arms like a clown. The tourists gasped, horrified, but the guard's face remained carved in stone. His eyes forward, his rifle steady. The leader smirked. "See? He can't even react. He's trained to ignore us. What a joke." But arrogance always pushes too far. And that was when they crossed the chain barrier meant to protect the tomb. The guard stopped. His right boot slammed into the marble with a thunderous crack, a sound that startled even the birds from the trees. He pivoted sharply, facing the intruders. His voice exploded like thunder. Halt! Respect this place or face consequences. The power in his voice was enough to make several tourists instinctively step back. The bullies froze for a moment, caught off guard. But pride is a dangerous master. One of them laughed nervously. Chill, man, it's just a prank. Another shoved the guard's shoulder lightly, whispering to his friend that he won't even touch me. What happened next became the stuff of legend. With the speed of a storm, the guard moved. His rifle snapped to position, not fired but wielded as a tool of control. The first shove was met with a swift, disciplined takedown, clean, efficient, no wasted motion. The bully found himself on the ground, staring at the sky, the wind knocked out of him. The second lunged forward, swinging sloppily. The guard sidestepped with military precision, catching the arm, twisting, and sending him sprawling across the marble. Gasps rippled through the watching crowd. The remaining 3 thought numbers would overwhelm him. They rushed together, a wave of reckless bravado. But discipline is stronger than chaos. Every strike they threw was countered, every move anticipa.